Welcome to Ibis Weather. This is Sarah, and this is update video for August 16th, 2025, where we have a lot to go over. As you guys know, yesterday evening I did not post an update video as something can come up. So I decided to do it a little bit earlier today since a lot has transpired since really the last update Thursday night and then throughout this morning. So I did want to kind of go over and touch on some things that have been a topic of concern and curiosity that I've seen going around the internet. And I thought, well, let's go ahead and try to take a little bit of a scientific explanation. Another update video might be posted later on tonight, depending on if much changes with Hurricane Erin. So, before we get started with Hurricane Erin, which is the hot topic of today, I do want to mention that the system that was over there in northwestern Gulf has dissipated. It has gone over land. As far as I know, we have not heard of any major flooding concerns out of the usual that you'd get with a system trying to form into a tropical system. I don't believe it ever even was designated as a depression, so that's good. But as we are now in the start of the peak of hurricane season, um, or start of the peak of it, I should say, as we've been in it for a few months, you do see we do have another area of concern. Not surprising, and like I said, I expect the next, month or so will probably be quite busy tracking stuff. But also before I go ahead and get started, I know there is some talk on social media about a wave that might be coming from Africa. Nothing has come off of it yet. I will obviously touch on that a little bit more as we get a little bit closer to it. And definitely once the National Hurricane Center has designated as a spot of interest or as invest, that's when we'll really get more into it. Right now, our focus is right now with obviously Hurricane Erin. And before we get started, I do want to touch on the little yellow lemon, as they say, that is off the coast of North Carolina. As you can see, it is a relatively small little cluster of storms. They do have it right now, 10% for both 48 hours and 7 days development. As they mentioned, it is a weak and wide area of low pressure that is disorganized. It could have some slight development the next day or two as it moves over the Gulf Stream, which is the body of or current, I should say, in the body of the ocean that is of extremely warm water that actually comes out of the Gulf. So, not surprising that that would be that is a little bit of a concern, but right now they're not too worried about it. So, that's not our main focus. But before we get in with Hurricane Aaron, I will show you a little bit of the satellite presentation as we've been known to do that. So you can see it over here. It's definitely a disorganized cluster. Does look like it may be that it does have some rotation in it, hence why they're saying it's a low pressure. So we'll continue to watch, monitor it. Right now, it's not our main area of interest, and we do see our actual main focus right now, Hurricane Erin, over here on the lower right-hand corner of the screen as she gets closer to Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands. So let's go ahead and get on the topic of her. So she has became a Category 1 hurricane yesterday, as expected on track, and as of 11 this morning, Eastern time, that is. She is now a Category 5. So that is less than 24 hours of her climbing the very top. And she is the first hurricane of the season. And this is the second year in a row we've had a Category 5 hurricane as the first hurricane of the season. So some would say quite unusual and unexpected. We do have a lot of years where we did not have records of hurricanes and stuff. So to really say it is unusual, it's unusual for what we know currently with recorded history. But again, we don't really have anything official that can rule out that this has not happened in the past before. As I mentioned before, a lot of weather can be argued to be cyclical. Um, and as we've seen in the past, 20 years ago, 2004, 2005, we had two very active back-to-back seasons. Last year, we had a back-to-back, an active season in 2024, which of course, we had, it was more of a backloaded season, but we did have two major well, three really, because they had Beryl earlier in the season. And then, of course, hurricanes Helene and Milton kind of ended the season. So we ended with those two as major ones. So again, can't really say that it's completely out of the usual, but for known recorded history, it is. Okay, so I also wanted to go over and show you guys again the some satellite image of her. If you remember what we shown Thursday night, and even some of the photos we showed, shared yesterday on YouTube and my YouTube community posts, and of course Facebook. She's definitely has taken on that classical hurricane look that we have come to expect out of them. She is big storm. Appear well, she's not really that big, but she's appearing bigger than what she was, and she's expected to continue to grow. Right now, as of early afternoon, she has been making impacts on the Leeward Islands, not the Bahamas, the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. As you can see, she does seem to have a lot of bands more on the south side of, unfortunately, of the storm. In the past, she has had quite a bit of wind shear in the more northeastern side, northern side. That might still be going on a little bit, but it certainly has not hindered her from becoming what she is right now, which is a Category 5. So she definitely kind of topped out and peaked, topped out of what National Hurricane Center thought that might be possible. They did hint in the past 2 days that it was possible she could reach this, but she's definitely a strong Category 5 right now, and we expect her to stay a major hurricane for a while. As people say, typically when you really think about wind speeds, the wind speeds difference between a Cat 4 and Cat 5 is really more of a semantics versus, really that much difference in what the damage would look like, unfortunately. So the good news is the strongest winds, which are around I, should be avoiding the islands for the most part, and is expected to probably stay away from any landmass currently. But definitely, if you probably ask the people of the Leeward Islands and Virgin Islands, in Puerto Rico, they probably would count this as a impact, which it is definitely. It will go down in history books as a storm that has affected them, unfortunately. But they are certainly not getting the strongest. They may still get quite gusty high winds at times. I did see a report earlier that St. Martin, which is in the Leeward Islands, they got just mostly rain, so they did luck out on that. I don't know if that's still holding true. As you can see, they're still currently going through it, and they will continue to be impacted by her bans uh, into Sunday as well. And of course, rough seas and currents, of course, are also being experienced. And it looks like even Hispaniola is also starting to get some on the edge of some of the outer bands as well. And precipitation that Erin is currently bringing along with her. As like I said, she's definitely a loaded storm, meaning she's got a lot of moisture kind of enveloping around her, which probably is helping keep some of the dry air and Saharan dust out of her, which, is good for her, but not good for those of us who have been and will be impacted. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at another kind of image. So you probably see this typically on the news, style image, or social media. Again, this is basically just another type of satellite image of her, where you more or less just kind of see her looking like a shrimp, or as I like to say, reminds me of a bagel and cream cheese when you see the clouds. So again, definitely a decent sized storm. You are kind of seeing more of a northward movement from her, which is good. That's what the National Hurricane Center has been expecting. So that is definitely some good news for Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, as long as she continues to do that. As of the 11 a.m. update, they did mention she was moving just due west with no northerly component. So hopefully this isn't just a wobble and she'll kind of start picking up and going in that movement more. But she has been generally kind of more on the southern, kind of a little below the southern side and west side of the track. So it is worth noting, but it's nothing to freak out about yet at the moment. It looks like she is starting to gain a little bit of latitude and a little bit more of a northern component. Which we'll touch on more in a moment. Okay, so earliest reasonable time of arrival of tropical storm. Force winds, of course, is quite an important aspect. Unfortunately, Bermuda is definitely being on that and over there close to Virginia, North Carolina, and Maryland, and New Jersey, too. So, she's definitely the wind field will get a little bit too close to comfort. And if she continues more southern and westernly than the track, there is a possibility that she may, they may get some of these winds, at least on the very coastal sides of states. So, and of course, Bermuda is in the middle of that. So they should expect probably tropical storm force winds at the very least. But right now, it does look like that hopefully they are kind of on the edge of the cone, for meaning that they could get the eye come over them a little bit as well. But hopefully that will, as the cone narrows out, and if they continue shifting the track more west, they will probably get out of it. But they are kind of on the edge of it. Better than to be on the edge of it than to be in the middle, because chances are you're more likely to get out of it than if you're smack dab in the middle of the cone. But again, the cone is just saying where I could go, it's not counting in rain, wind, rough surf, rip currents, anything like that. So that can be expected. So as you can see right now, it's currently being experienced on Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. It looks like maybe the Leeward Islands are starting to get a little bit, well, they're kind of having it right now anyhow. So this is the earliest reasonable time, but at Saturday at 2 p.m. is when Puerto Rico can start expecting it Sunday as well. Early Sunday morning to Sunday morning rigor that they can start expecting that over there. The Dominican Republic and extreme northern Haiti. And then, of course, the Bahamas can start expecting it Sunday night, and then Monday, the more eastern Bahamas as expected to start returning. And then for Bermuda, Tuesday night until Wednesday morning is the possible earliest time. I'm sure as we get closer and when we find out more, we'll go ahead and post kind of what expected when the gusts could be for them. It's still a little bit too early to know, and since there has been more of a south and western movement as of this morning until now, and this could just be a wobble that we're seeing currently, we'll have to wait and see if that changes as well. Okay, so and then talking about the cone. So as you can see, Bermuda over here is on the edge of the cone. They do seem to, like I said, expect her to, Hurricane Erin to go north of Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola start turning more northern at that point, and she should stay, or her eye should stay well east of the Bahamas. So that's good news. Of course, the lower 48 southeast side and more middle northeast also not expect to have the eye going over. She will grow at least double or possibly triple in actual size, meaning her wind field and rain shield. So we should be aware of that. Again, like I said, we may see some adjustment and changes as we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. Again, as I mentioned previously, they don't always follow their track the way that you would expect them to. I think the two most notorious ones that we can think of that has proven that, besides with what she's been doing so far, of course, was Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Charlie, um, respectively. So we'll wait and see what if Erin decides to start going along more what the track is, or if she's going to continue to be a little bit of a rebel and prove that she's doing her own thing for a little bit longer at the very least. This is Hurricane Erin's rainfall forecast. So as you can see, again, right now, this is mostly just talking about the northern leewards, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and a little bit of Hispaniola. Her heaviest rains, obviously, are going to be more or less towards the middle of the storm where the eye is. So right now, it does look like Hispaniola can expect or not Hispaniola, Puerto Rico can at least a good chunk of all the northern coast and a little bit of the southern coast can expect 2 to 4 inches. Isolated 4 to 4 inches could happen in the more northwest side, and of course, the Virgin Islands as well can expect that. Hispaniola, particularly Dominican Republic, they can expect at least 1 to 2 inches on the more northern side of their coast. The hatched area is meaning they're low confidence, so they're not completely positive on what they can fully expect. And of course, the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos as well. So that's what we have currently for that. What's expected. On to next, so of course, I'd love to mention the key messages for these hurricanes, just because I think that, again, while it's fun to track and listen to different personalities on social media, and obviously that's kind of what I'm doing. So obviously, I want people to listen and pay attention, but we do see a lot of hyperbole, unfortunately, when it comes to tropical systems and hurricanes, and because of that, uh, I do think it's quite important to make sure that we are sharing the official information and forecast. Again, doesn't mean that the storm is going to follow the official expected forecasts or anything to an exact T. That's not the case. That's not how weather works. Again, it's part of the beauty and the terrifying aspect of it both. Kind of reigns true for both sides of that argument. But this is always important to note. So, heavy rainfall is at times expected through Sunday across northern Leeward and Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Of course, they may have, flash and urban flooding and landslides or mudslides. Gusts up to tropical storm force winds in her outer rain bands are likely in portions of the northern Leeward Islands through tonight and over portions of Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico later today through tomorrow. Um, tropical storm force wind gusts are possible in Turks and Caicos and the southern southeast Bahamas as well. So if you guys are in the Turks or Caicos or southeast Bahamas, I will encourage you guys, make sure that you are now preparing for that. With tropical storm force wind gusts, you could definitely possibly have some power outages, unfortunately. So make sure that you're having, bottled water, enough bottled water for everyone for at least 3 days. I do urge more on the side of caution a little bit longer than that. But this I'm going off based off of what they officially advise for that shelf stable food. Not shelf stable food, you have a way to have food that's kept cold that you can cook, a safe way of cooking, whether that's a gas stove, a gas grill, a charcoal grill. Sometimes they sell little things like uh, little gas burners, I guess, if you will. I'm not sure technically what they're called for camping. Those can work as well. Make sure again you follow safety measures for any and all of that. Charge up all of your devices, your computers, your tablets, your cell phones. If you have battery packs and are able, or if you don't have them and you're able to get one, go ahead and charge those up as well. If you do have a generator, make sure that you do have what you need for that, whether that is one that you have to charge previously, prior to losing power, or a gas one. Make sure that you're doing that. And again, follow all the rules and make sure everything is safely connected for that as well um, ahead of time. So just letting you guys know, just make sure you do that. I think you have until tomorrow night or Monday before you could possibly start getting tropical storm force gusts. So make sure that you are taking care of that today, at the very least. Of course, Erin is expected to produce life-threatening surf currents along the beaches of the Bahamas and much of the East Coast and Atlantic Canada next week. I don't think anyone's surprised by that, even if she does not really come close to us. Um, you can always expect that. And then, of course, or not Bahamas, Bermuda, they say should continue to monitor the progress of her, since there is a risk of strong winds, heavy rain, and high surf by the middle of a part of next week. And I did mention she is on the edge of the cone for Hurricane Erin. So again, you know, just that probably will change. We'll see the cone shrink and move possibly as well. But it's not a bad idea to make sure you guys are taking care of that stuff too. So the stuff that I said for the Turks and Caicos and Southeast Bahamas can also apply to you guys. Make sure you have your supplies ready. You have everything that you need. Make sure you have someone that you can reach out to if you're going to evacuate to let them know where you are so they can check in on you as soon as possible. Make sure you're okay as well. And of course, as I mentioned previously, if anyone has any pets or animals or livestock, make sure that you are also taking care of them as well. And if you're able to help anyone who is homeless, I do strongly encourage that as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the steering difference. So I do think this is a little bit uh, outdated, possibly this particular loop. But I did want to kind of talk about what National Hurricane Center is expecting. So right now there is an anti cyclone that is over Hispaniola right now, which would be right over here, and that is what's currently been tugging Erin um, more west than what we expected. We expected her to start having more of a northerly component. Like I said, the last few images that we did see, she definitely had a little bit more of a northern component. So we'll see if that's just a wobble, as hurricanes are known to, wobble around. They don't follow everything to the exact T as I mentioned, or if this is going to be more of a trend that she's going to continue to do. Time will tell. Um, but that is what's going on, and we're expecting a break over somewhere over here, or a weakness to form in this ridge for her to make her escape hatch to the north. All tropical systems, cyclones, hurricanes, they all, well, at least in the northern hemisphere, always want to head north. That's just kind of instinct. Can you say that's an instinct? I'm not sure if you can say it's an instinct, but that is typically what they to do and do. And right now, she's under a ridge of high pressure, which is keeping her, going south of that. So they are expecting a break to come through, and that's when she'll be able to turn. We just don't know the timing of exactly when or how. And of course, there's a possibility that it might not be as of a strong break as they had hoped. Time will tell. We're going to still say go based off of with a national hurricane center is saying and advising, obviously. But it is a possibility, a small one, but a possibility still that, it could start closer more over here than over here, or she could start over here. We just have to wait and see where that break forms, or weakness, and see when that turn is made. Maybe she is starting that now, we just don't know. But that's important. And of course, I always love to show the spaghetti models or spaghetti plots, which again have gotten to be quite popular with the social media, and just fun to watch. So this is the Euro one from earlier today. So as you can see, they are keeping her off the East Coast and Atlantic Coast, uh, Canada's Atlantic coast, and of course Bermuda. Bermuda is right here, so that is good. There's a few outliers there that taking it I possibly a little bit closer to Bermuda, so we do have to kind of watch that. But there's definitely more seem to thinking that this is going to be more the general path. And then I want to say that the GFS is also kind of in agreement on that. We do have a few outliers taking a little bit more west, so a little bit closer to the southeast coast, and then also showing possibly impacting places like Greenland and even a little bit of the UK. Of course, at that point, it will be non-tropical. It will be in two cold waters, so they don't need to worry anything about that. But and there's definitely a little bit more. You can see outliers with the GFS than the Euro. Some of them take it a little bit more east, some take it a little bit more west. But again, a lot of them do seem to still agree. Again, this could change. We'll see what future model runs do. But again, interest in the southeast, US, Bermuda, Turks and Caicos, and the Bahamas. Probably not a bad idea just to continue to get daily updates and continue to monitor because, hurricanes can change path. As you saw earlier, or I mentioned earlier, within 24 hours had went from a category 1 to a cat 5. So anything that is possible with these kind of systems, unfortunately, can't rule out any deviances from what is expected. So just make sure you are following and getting your updates. Follow a person, or agency that you trust. I will continue to be here posting updates. And as I mentioned earlier, once we do get more, areas of interest, we will continue to start talking about them too as time goes on. So thank you guys for tuning in. We might have another update tonight. We'll wait and see. If not, you guys will see another video tomorrow at the very least. And we will continue to track where Erin goes and report on what is going on with her. So thank you guys, and I'll talk to you later.